all right, let's see if we have that double echo now. Can you all hear me? Can you see the screen okay? I think everything is good to go. Perfect. All right. So as we just give maybe a couple of minutes for other people to get in, I am on a different microphone. So if there's background noise, if you hear frogs, I'm actually out of the not out of the country, but I'm in the Virgin Islands and there's literally frogs outside singing up a storm tonight. But if you can hear them, sorry. If you can't, great. That means the microphone's doing its job. But I am just using a normal microphone, not the one that I typically use. And let's see. So as we give a few more minutes for people to show up, let me know over in the chat. When are y'all testing? Where are y'all from? I'm from North Carolina originally, but I did fly down to the Virgin Islands this morning. Let me know. All right, we got some people testing in April, March, the 21st of this month, the 16th, Florida, Dallas, New York. Right. Look over here on Instagram and TikTok. Okay, California, nice. Another Pennsylvania, another Florida. I'm just checking this. Right. Look over here on Instagram. There we go. All right. Well, here's what we're going to do. So these webinars are a little bit different than what I've done in the past, but honestly, they're not too different because whenever I've done my webinars, I've always done practice questions, practice questions, practice questions. So that's going to be no different. What is going to be different is when I used to do those webinars in between the sections, like M.1.1, M.1.2, there was a little bit of what you would call lecture. But what we're going to do tonight is we're going to simulate about half of the math portion of the TEAS test. We can't sit here and do 38 questions and I go over every question in an hour and a half. But I'm gonna give you, I originally put 19 questions and I've knocked that down a little bit so I don't feel too rushed. We're gonna knock it down to 15 questions. And good news, if you're familiar with the math portion of the T7, there are 15 objectives. There's M.1.1 through M.1.10. That's 10 of them. And then there's M.2.1 through M.2.5, which is 5 additional ones. And we're going to do at least one question from each one of those objectives tonight. And then I'll come back in a couple of weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks, and I will do some more. Every time you come to these webinars, fresh problems, and I am going to simulate the exam in terms of timing. So let me know over in the chat as well. How many of y'all have attended? Let me know if this is your first math webinar. Have you attended some math webinars in the past? Let me know over in the chat. All right, some of y'all said several. First time, very nice. Plenty of webinars, good. Let's see what we got over here. First time, all right. Well, very good. So if it's your first time, it's not going to feel any different because you've never done one, which is good. But basically what we're going to do tonight, I'm going to give you some problems. I'm going to let you work them out. You'll have around 1 minute and 30 seconds. And there is a reason I use 1 minute and 30 seconds. Let me pull up the calculator here. And on the math portion of the T7, you will have 57 minutes to do 38 questions. If we take 57 minutes and we divide it up into 38 questions, now some of those are unscored, but we don't know which ones those are. If we take 57 minutes and we divide it up into 38 questions, you get on average 1.5 minutes. That's 1 minute and 30 seconds. So that's going to be like our magic time number that we're going to shoot for. Now, some problems tonight, I think they will take a little bit longer. So I will give you some additional time, but I want to simulate the actual TEAS test where you're going to be seeing a problem. You're going to work it out and then you're going to submit the answer. And feel free to participate over in the chats if you would like. If you're in Zoom, the chat is completely confidential. So I see all of y'all's messages, but y'all don't see each other's messages. However, over on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, those are public. So just to kind of throw that out there. I know sometimes when I submit stuff, through online meetings or whatever, I'm a little hesitant to submit things sometimes, but that's just me. But yeah, there you go. That's how we can make it interactive. You can get that feedback, and I'm still going to go over every problem with you all. Now, a couple of things before we get started, and you've probably heard this in other webinars as well. If you are watching, let me slide that out of the way. If you're watching from your phone, then you cannot scan these QR codes. But if you are watching from your computer, grab your phone, maybe scan some of these for later. We have a question bank, and I know Shelly did a webinar. Shelly did a chemistry webinar yesterday and today. She did like a lecture and then a practice test. And I heard her mention, we do have well over 1,500. We are about to pass to the 2,000 question limit. It's not a limit, but that's where we're close. We're very close to 2,000 questions. There is a 7-day free trial. We also have videos, and these videos, you might say, well, why do I need these videos if I'm coming to all of these free webinars? Tonight, you're going to see it. Prime example, the on-demand videos, I cover pretty much every type of question you could run across on the math portion of the TEAS. I cannot do that in just one webinar. So we're going to get a taste of what you could see, but the on-demand videos, I will show you kind of like how some of those are structured, and you will see that there's really no stone unturned when it comes to math with those on-demand videos. And then over on our YouTube channel, you can rewatch some of our previous webinars. So like this one right here, for example, it will be posted sometime tomorrow. I just have to make sure I have a reminder to post it to the YouTube channel tomorrow. But tomorrow I'm only going to work a half day. I'm going to enjoy the Virgin Islands a little bit. And then these two right here, SurePass and SurePass Pro. SurePass, it will bundle the question bank. I know it's a free trial, but if you want it for longer, you can get the Q bank and the videos using SurePass. It's versus you purchasing these separately, it is a discount. And then if you want some private tutoring, like if you want just you and me, or maybe you want to meet with Shelly or Tammy, SurePass Pro is the ticket. That's where you can get the question bank, the videos, and that includes 1 hour of private tutoring. And I think the discount, if you go with that, you end up saving like $20 when it's all said and done. So I think it's a good deal. Plus, you get that one-on-one touch. And y'all, when it comes to TEAS, I literally private tutoring. I mean, not just at Archer, but I'm talking like throughout my time of doing TEAS, I've literally probably tutored over 1,000 students individually. I kid you not. Whether it be at the college I used to work at, online, and that's where I do a lot of my tutoring at. So, and students have been very successful. So I would encourage you that. I mean, obviously tutoring is not the cheapest thing in the world, but keep that in mind if you want that one-on-one touch. Which brings me to what I'm starting to do. I've done this for several webinars now. Read this down here in red. You have to stay for the whole webinar, because the way you can win a free session tonight. And just private tutoring. If you went and booked a private tutoring session over at Archer, whether it be with me, Shelly, or Tammy, it would be $75. Private tutoring is not cheap, but I'm going to give you a free hour tonight. Somebody in this webinar will get a free hour tonight. And I think I've done that for the last maybe 3 or 4 webinars, but you have to stay to the end. There is a way that you can enter it, and I will announce the winner tonight. Now, I did mention SurePass and SurePass Pro. These are graphics, and if you go back and rewatch the webinar, basically it's just summing up what I've already said. SurePass, QBank and videos, SurePass Pro, QBank, videos, and then that one-on-one tutoring session. All right, I see some questions over there. Let's see, over on Facebook. Oh, several first timers on Facebook and YouTube. Let's see what the student said here. Can't thank you enough for everything you do. Retook. Okay, so y'all, we got somebody over on YouTube. They retook the TEAS today, scored a 83%. If you don't mind, I mean, this is up to you, but I do see YouTube comments on some of my videos. There was literally a YouTube comment. Watch this, y'all. Let me see if I still got this. Hmm, I don't know if I still have it in my clipboard. I can't find it. But there was a YouTube comment today where a student, I think that student scored a 58 and they went back and watched some videos and they got like a 90 something. So yeah, practice makes perfect, no doubt about it. But that student over on YouTube, if you would like to share, it says you retook it. What did you get on your first attempt? Let's see what that improvement was. And as we wait for that, we are available on a bunch of social channels. TikTok, we're streaming to it. Instagram, we're streaming to it. Facebook, we're streaming to it. And then you can email us, prenursing@archerreview.com. So what did you all sign up for tonight? This is what you see right here on the screen. Tonight, instead of it being 19 questions, I did mention, hey, I backed off a little bit. We're going to do 15, and that's going to cover at least one example from every single math objective. I will be showing you the question bank. I will be showing you the on-demand videos because I really think that will be the missing link. I can't cover every type of math problem, but I can definitely give you an overview, a little taste. And then that's where the question bank, the free trial of the question bank can come in and help, as well as the on-demand videos. And I did mention, we are going to kind of rock and roll through these timed. I'm going to time you because that's what's going to happen come test time. You can't just pause it and all that stuff. So I am going to time you. We will still go over everything step by step. Every problem, I'll still go over it with you, give you the answer, all that good stuff. And I did mention we are going to go a little bit faster. And what's going to feel different about this webinar versus the other ones? What I used to do in the other webinars is I would do like a little mini lecture on every goal, and then we would do a problem. What we're doing now is I'm going to give you a problem, you try it, we go over it. I'm going to give you another problem, you try it, we go over it. And that's what we're going to do. This is a practice test webinar. So there's going to be no mini lectures in between these problems. And every problem is going to feel slightly different. That's what we're calling them practice test webinars. Give you a little taste. So with that said, how's the audio? Can you hear frogs in the background? I can. Sounds great. I think it depends on which social channel you're on, whether you can hear them or not. But are we ready to get started? Now, remember, you can go back tomorrow. If you missed this one, you can go back over to YouTube. You can rewatch rewatch this webinar once I get that added tomorrow. But let's go ahead and get started. So our first one, and I kind of do go in order, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Here's our first problem. Now, what I will do is I'm going to mute the microphone. I'm going to set the timer for 1 minute and 30 seconds. Y'all go ahead and try it. We'll come back and we'll go over it together. Let me see. Well, y'all just keep on working. I'm going to figure out this timer. It's doing something weird. Now, I know I stopped the timer earlier there because this is an example of a question where technically this one probably after practice, this one will take you less than a minute and 30 seconds to do. However, I'm seeing some A's and some B's across all of the socials. Instagram, I'm seeing some A's and B's, TikTok. I don't even know how to look at the chat on TikTok, but over in Zoom, yes, Facebook, YouTube. Well, the correct answer is actually going to be A. And this is, you might say, oh, no, it ain't. Yes, it is. The answer is A. And we really need to make sure we're careful with dealing what's called fractions, decimals, and percents. Okay. So I'm definitely gonna go over it with you. I'm gonna go over every single problem with y'all tonight. 2 3/4. Let's talk about this mixed number. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can handle this mixed number. You can convert this mixed number to an improper fraction. One way you can, and this is just one way, to convert a mixed number to an improper fraction, take the bottom number 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 plus 3, that gives you 11. 11 over 4. Now, so this right here, y'all, that is a fraction, right? Now, when you grab your calculator, let me find my calculator. If you take 11 and divide it by 4, all you are doing here, folks, is you are converting that fraction to a decimal. So when we divide there, when we take 11 divided by 4, and notice every time I pull up the calculator tonight, y'all, what I type in is going to be right there. But 11 divided by 4, we do get 2.75, but this is just our decimal. We have to convert that decimal to a percent. Now, there's a couple of ways that students do this. Some students will multiply by 100, and that is the same thing as moving that decimal 2 places to the right. So our answer is actually 275%. We had to convert to a percent. Now, what some of y'all probably did is maybe you didn't even do this right here, 11 over 4. I bet what some of y'all did is you just said, well, hey, there's the 2, right? That's the 2 in your mixed number. And if you take 3 divided by 4, 3 divided by 4 is that 0.75. So you can just take that mixed number and jump straight to that decimal. But that's what is important. What is important is that when you do this step, you are converting to a decimal, but we still have to convert to a percent. So that's number one. And as a matter of fact, let me go ahead and show y'all something. I will write down the goal number. This is M.1.1. And I'm making a point there. M.1.1, that is how ATI labels their goals for math in this case. So check out 2 things I want to show you here. One, I want to show you the free question bank, free trial. Once you create your account, free trial, 7 days. If you go to create a test, and let me make this just a little bit bigger so y'all can see it. If we go to create test, if you want to work on just fractions and decimals and percents, first of all, I'm going to select every single question. Y'all look at that, 1,986 questions. I told you we're getting real close to 2,000. But I'm going to select all questions. I'm going to go to next. And I know that fractions and decimals and percents fall underneath M.1. I'm going to check just that box. And then these right here, these bold, like don't do the gray ones. You can't select these gray ones because that's M.2. But all of these that are bold and black, M.1.1, if you want to focus on just fractions and decimals and percents, you can do that with the free trial of our QBank. If you want to extend that to like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, that's where the free trial will expire after 1 week. But y'all check this out. I tap on just that one, create test, and it's going to create a test on just that goal, fractions and decimals and percents. And now, I mean, the thing is, you can do that with any of these subjects. You can do that with reading. You can do that with English. You can do that with science. I know, like S.1, anatomy and physiology. Maybe you want to study in anatomy and physiology. Well, where it is? There it is, right there. I was looking for the bold ones. Maybe you want to focus on just the cardiovascular system. This is what's cool about the question bank. You can really narrow down to specific pieces. Free trial, there's no reason why you shouldn't be trying it out. You know what I'm saying? Great practice. Personally, I wrote all the math questions, and you better believe I'm writing questions that will definitely prepare you come test time. So that's the free question bank. I'm going to come back in a few minutes and I'm going to show you how the videos can be helpful as well. But I know we're itching for another problem. So here is number 2. This is a new question type where now y'all just have to type them in, but on the TEAS, you might have to drag these numbers around and put them in a certain order. It's called drag to rearrange or rearrange by dragging. You probably will not have a lot of them if you have any at all, but I do know it is a question type. So let's go with a minute and a half again. Try it out. All right, so drag to rearrange. We got to put these in a certain order. And I'm going to go ahead and just talk about the way that I like to teach students how to do this. There are multiple ways you can do it, but when you got to put numbers in order, and notice we do have some percentages, we have some decimals, we have some fractions. Here's what I recommend. Put all of the numbers in the same form. Decimal form is great. And why is decimal form great? If any of y'all have attended my webinars before or seen videos where you've seen me talk about this, when you put decimal or when you put a number in decimal form, that's when you can think about money. I mean, yes, we want to be nurses, or most of y'all in here want to be nurses, but also we want to get a paycheck. So money, we can relate to that. Therefore, I'm going to take, before I even drag them or anything, I'm just going to quickly come down here and convert all of these to decimal form. For example, 75%. Now, you can either move the decimal 2 places to the left, or you can take the percent and divide by 100. 75%, I want you to think of it as 75 cents. That is the decimal representation. Now, for 7.5, that is $7.50. And actually, I tell you what, I'm going to put the little dollar symbol in here to even relate it even more. So if you go back and rewatch this webinar or whatever, that way you can go and be like, okay, we're talking about money. All right, now Calculator, grab your calculator. I mean, I'm gonna flip back and forth a little bit tonight. If we take 709 and divide it by 100, that's $7.09. And y'all, do y'all see how this is going to be helpful, even though I haven't gone all the way through them? I mean, daggone it, these three numbers were three different forms. We had a percent, we had a decimal, we had a fraction. But once we get them all in decimals, we're like, oh yeah, well, I know which one's the biggest one right now, $7.50 right now. So let's keep going. Let's hit that 38. Grab your calculator. That way I don't have to flip back over so much, but 38 divided by 5. Every time I see a fraction, I'm going to divide it, convert it to a decimal. Y'all, how much money is that? How much money is that? 7.6 is $7.60. It is not $7.06. Be careful there. If it was $7.06, the zero would have been in between them. All right, so 36 divided by 5, y'all be careful. If you take 36 and divide by 5, you will get $7.20, but don't overlook that negative. And then we got one more, negative 72%, kind of similar to 75%, but it's going to be negative, and it will be negative 72 cents. So now that we have these all in decimal form, now we can start talking about, okay, what order do we need to put these things in? And this is the next thing that I see students kind of slip up on every once in a while. Descending order, be careful. Descending order is from greatest to least. Descending equals greatest to least, not least to greatest. Least to greatest would be ascending order or increasing order. Descending or decreasing, that means you're going from a higher value to a lower value. So let's drag these around. $7.50, definitely going to be the greatest one, right? Did I miss something? No. So 7.5, that's the biggest one. The next biggest one, oh, just kidding. Look at that. 38 divided by 5. Look at that. See that money? 38 divided by 5. That is $7.60. So yes, that is bigger. Then $7.50. Then $7.09. Then 75 cents. And be careful with your negatives. This is where money, if you think about money, this value right here, 72 cents, the negative 72 cents, that is technically more money than negative $7.20. Y'all think about this. Look at all of these numbers here. If you had to pick one value that you would not want your bank account to be, this would be the lowest value in your bank. Out of all these values up here, being negative $7.20 in your bank account, that's the lowest value up here. So that is the smallest value. Descending order, increase in order, putting numbers in order. I recommend doing decimal form and then thinking about money. All right. Now, so what I want to do before we move on to number 3, I mentioned the question bank. I'm just going to reiterate it. Just so I mean, I see we have some more people joining in too on all the socials, so that's great. If I go back to all, now M.1, and this one is actually M.1.3. I got a little bit out of order, even though we're putting numbers in order. I haven't done M.1.2 yet. But if we go to M.1.3, I'm going to create a quick test. And we actually even, oh, perfect. Exactly what I wanted to happen. Y'all, we got some of those questions where you have to drag them and put them in order. And if I want to put these in decrease in order, I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Square root of 16, that is the biggest one. Then it would be 75 cents, 60 cents, then 20 cents. But here's what I want to show y'all. I have put these, I think, in decrease in order. If I click reveal answer, it will tell you whether you get it right or wrong. So this is correct. You get over here, you get an explanation. And then this is where I want to tie in our videos. Directly in our question bank, our on-demand videos, we break these little things up into little small sections that you can watch a video to get some extra help. And notice what that one is: comparing and ordering numbers. But it doesn't end there. This is just a small thing about our on-demand videos. If I actually jump to the on-demand videos, watch this. I'm gonna go to math. I'm gonna go to M.1.3. And it's almost like you got Netflix here for videos where you can go through the various chapters, or like YouTube, where you have like little timestamps. So like notice here, M.1.3. Oh, look at that. Think about money. Multiple choice example, ordered response. Oh, look, y'all, I spend 2 minutes in this 13-minute video. I spend 2 minutes talking about increasing versus decreasing, because a lot of students get those mixed up. But that's where the on demand is really special, in that every single one of our on demand videos, you have little bite-sized portions. And I know a big one. Look at geometry, y'all. The geometry video is 48 minutes. And I know you're like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to watch all that. Well, you don't have to, because you can jump to the specific thing, whether it be right triangles, whether you're dealing with circle problems, whether you're dealing with squares or rectangles. You can jump to those specific topics, or even volume. That's what's special about our on demand. So question bank, great 7-day free trial, on-demand videos. You can bundle this all together, SurePass and SurePass Pro. I'd highly recommend, if you want some tutoring, you can save money by getting SurePass Pro. You get the question bank, you get the on-demand videos, and you can get a tutoring session. But don't forget, you might get a free tutoring session tonight. So, and again, that will be at the end. I did see a question. Somebody says, when's the giveaway? You got to wait till the end. Here comes our third question. This is an order of operations example, and I will give you 1 minute and 30 seconds. Fill in the blank, by the way, no multiple choice. That is a question type as well. Try it out. All right, so I am seeing a couple of different answers across all or most of the social platforms as well. Something to kind of hit on too. I did see this in two different areas where students were like, oh, either they were taught different or they thought it was different. But the word decreasing, y'all, or descending, back to this last problem is what I'm talking about. But descending is the same thing as decreasing. And if y'all think about that, if you think about if a temperature decreases, or if your bank account decreases, that means it's going down. It's going from a higher to a lower. Whereas ascending and increasing, they mean the same thing. Ascending, increasing, that's when it goes up. It goes from a lower to a higher. But back to this order of operations, I'm seeing a couple different values here. And I did do this on purpose. When you have this problem here, some of y'all may have ended up multiplying first. You do not always multiply before you divide. I say that just about every time I do an order of operations problem. We do not want to multiply those. And I mean, we need to divide before we do multiplying. But I'll come back and talk about that again in a second. The first thing I'm going to focus on is working inside these parentheses. And if we work inside these parentheses, we have 4 squared. That is an exponent. That does not mean 4 times 2. It means 4 times 4, which gives you 16. And then we got to add that 6. So notice what I did there. I'm working inside the parentheses. I'm dealing with that exponent. And 16 plus 6 is 22. We've dealt with the parentheses. We've actually dealt with the exponent. Now we can move on to what's next. You must divide first. I know you've heard of please, excuse, my dear Aunt Sally. And everybody's thinking, if you did multiply first, you were probably thinking, well, M comes before D. But it's actually whichever one of these comes first as you move from left to right in your problem. That's always true. And I know some of y'all may be like, well, I won't talk that. Well, I'm sorry. But multiplication and division, you do whichever one of those comes first as you move from left to right in your problem. So we must divide first. Man, I don't know if y'all can hear that rain, but it sounds beautiful. 72 divided by 9 is 8 times 2, bring down our minus 22. Now from here, we definitely want to multiply before subtracting. So let's take that 8 times 2. We get 16. Let's subtract that 22. And 16, oops, my OCD is getting to me. Let me change that to a green. 8 times 2 is 16 still. 16 minus 22. For those of you that put -6, if that was a fill in the blank, you got it correct. The other common answer I see is -18. Probably a slight order of operations mistake there. But yeah, that's one example. I like to do those because I really want to hit home on that. If you see a division before multiplying, you better divide first. Fantastic. Yeah, and if you're excited, dag on it, let me know. I hear see somebody over there in Zoom. I got it right. Yes. All right, well, let's move on. So that's number 3. By the way, okay, like I said, you would think I would get my order better, but this is actually M.1.2. This one here is M.1.3. I got those 2 out of order, my fault, but it's labeled. If you go through the question bank, you want more examples like this one, go to M.1.3. More order of operations, M.1.2. As a matter of fact, that section right there has a lot of fraction examples too. And I've got some shortcuts for that. That might have to wait till the next webinar. But now M.1.4. Goodness gracious, that is an ugly M. M.1.4. And this is equations algebra. Let's do 1 minute and 30 seconds. Try it out. All right, I know I ended the timer early. I'm going to do that for some of these problems for sake of time, and I'm also doing it for certain problems where, in this case here, if you practice your equations, this problem can be solved in less than 1 minute and 30 seconds. But that's where the practice comes in, y'all. You got to think about it like shooting free throws. You know, you're not gonna make your first free throw. You might, but I mean, the more you practice, the better you get at it. You get more confident. Same thing with equations. Think about it like a sport. So this is where I definitely, I can't see you if you have the question bank, you need to practice as many equations as you can. For this one here, there's this thing called the distributive property. And I'll tell you what, I'm just going to rewrite it down here. That way we don't get mixed up with any of that other stuff. So first things first, let's multiply that 3 by the x and that 3 times the negative 2. 3 times x, 3x, 3 times that negative 2. I know it says subtract 2, but when I'm multiplying, when I see that, I say to myself 3 times negative 2, and that does give us a negative 6. And I know it's not in this example. You will see some in the question bank. Now, I just want to go ahead and point this out. Had this 3 been a negative 3, had it been a negative 3, and you multiply times that negative 2, then this would have been a positive 6. I see that mistake quite often when students are solving equations. Doesn't apply here, but I at least wanted to mention it. This equation is equal to 5. So that's your first step. You're getting rid of parentheses. You're using something called the distributive property. Now, this is where I can't do a mini lecture. I'm not doing mini lectures on these practice test webinars. I am going over every problem, though. Let's work on solving for x. Let's get x by itself. And what we want to do first is move that 6 by adding. And the reason I'm adding that 6 is because if you think about that right there, y'all, if you think about that, if you take negative 6 and you add 6, you get 0. And another thing too, the opposite of subtracting a number is to add the number. We're getting rid of those 6s over there. All we have left over here once we get rid of those 6s is that 3x. So I'm bringing it down. I'm going to bring down my equals. And don't bring down 5. 5 plus 6, we get 11. And we don't want to subtract this 3. You might say, well, isn't this 3 getting added? No. This 3, we do want to move it. This 3 is getting multiplied here. 3x means 3 times some number, 3 times x. And the opposite of multiplying is division. Let me explain why we're doing that. Think about this, y'all. Think about this. Some of y'all just do it because you're probably on autopilot, and I get it. But really, if you think about it, if you take 3 divided by 3, 3 divided by 3 is 1. It's not 0. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And when I cancel that out, if I write down just this x, there's still an understood 1 right there, but you don't have to write that down. It is understood. So those 3's that cancel out, it is equal to 1, but we bring down that x. So we have technically 1x. And what is this equal to? You might say, okay, let's grab the calculator and divide. Well, let's not, because if you look over at your answer choices, we actually see 11 over 3 right there. I did see a bunch of C's there, so that's very nice. I mean, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah. One student even put 3.67. I like that too. One student, check this out. Let me pull up the calculator. Check out if we take that 11 and divide it by 3. 11 divided by 3, you are essentially converting that fraction to a decimal. 11 over 3 is 3.67. I like that. It's just that we didn't have that answer choice over here. Fantastic. Y'all keep it coming. I mean, I'm seeing good interaction from all of them. This is what we want to see. That's why we're shooting it everywhere. Because I mean, I should have mentioned this sooner. Share it with somebody. You got somebody struggling with the T's for math, share the link to the webinars. These are completely free, y'all. Don't cost you a dime, just your time. Here comes number 5. You better believe it. I think all of the rest of them are in order. M.1.5. This circular pie pizza problem. Let's go, and I will give you the full 1 minute, 30 seconds. Go ahead and try it out. All right, here we go. So M.1.5, this is a multi-step word problem. As a matter of fact, M.1.5 can have all sorts of different types of questions. I'm going to tie back in the QBank and the on-demand videos right here in 1 second. Now, this is a tricky problem. And before I dive into this, I did ask a student earlier. A student over on YouTube said they retook the TEAS and they got an 83%. And then I did ask that student, I said, if you want to share, how'd you do on the first time? So this student went from a 50% to an 83%. Thank you for being totally transparent there. I mean, this is going to motivate a lot of students, but that is a tremendous improvement going from a 50% to an 83% on math. It's great. Another student over on, let's see, this was also on YouTube. Took the TEAS yesterday, 88%. And let's see, that student who did raise their score from a 50 to a 83, they started watching the videos. That's fantastic. Practice questions, whether it be my videos or Archer's videos. I'm glad you did it. Congratulations. And I will say this too, don't stop there. Don't stop there. Med dosage, I got you covered there too. So I want all of y'all to remember that. But M.1.5, this problem right here, Carlos. Now, Carlos is my neighbor. And for some reason, when I was making this webinar, I was just thinking about my neighbor, Carlos. He's a cool guy. He's always out there washing his vehicle. So Carlos is going to get a lot of love tonight. Carlos and 5 of his friends ordered a circular pizza. Now, I am going to take a visual approach here. And circular pizza, Carlos and 5 of his friends. Now, my neighbor Carlos, he probably does not like his pizza as much as I'm giving him credit for right now. But in this case, Carlos was starving, so he ate half the pizza. So that's Carlos. The remaining portion was equally shared among his 5 friends. So Carlos ate this whole yellow half of the pizza, and the rest of it was shared equally amongst his 5 friends. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to chop this and I'm going to try to visualize this as best I can. And that one actually needs to be a little bit, and this doesn't have to be perfect, y'all, but I'm trying to get y'all to see what I'm doing is I'm taking the other half of this pizza and I'm cutting it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal slices because it's 5 friends that are splitting that other half. Now, what fraction, now check this out, y'all. This is where it gets crazy. What fraction of the whole pizza did each friend get? Let's look at just any one of these friends. You know, this right here, each one of these slices, that blue slice right there, that's what one of those friends will get. Here's where you got to be careful. If you put 1/5, I did see some C's, some 1/5s. Well, this blue slice right here, y'all, that is one out of these 5 slices over here, but that is not of the whole pizza. All right. So what is it? When we talk about the whole pizza, here's how we got to visualize it. Even though Carlos has already ate this, watch what I'm going to do here, y'all. I'm just gonna come here and I'm gonna draw. And this is how we cut pizza, right? You know, we cut all the way across most of the time. That's how we get it from Pizza Hut or wherever you get your pizza from. So now when you look at it like that, this blue slice is not 1 out of 5 in relationship to the whole pizza. It is 1 out of 10. Y'all, look at these slices. Let me number them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 equally sized slices. That one blue slice is just 1/10 of the whole pizza. 1/10 of the whole pizza. Now let's go back and talk about Carlos, even with it like this. Y'all, how many of these slices over here, of these little slices, how many slices did Carlos get if we look at it like that? If we look at it like this, Carlos got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He got 5 of these slices, and that's 5 out of how many that make the whole? 10, right? 10 slices make the whole. Well, y'all, 5 out of 10. Carlos still got half of it. Now, there is a clever way that I just saw somebody say over on Zoom, and a lot of people do not see it like that. But yes, as a matter of fact, that's how I do it. It's a very clever way. Here is what one student did over on Zoom. This student did recognize that one is 1 out of 5. That blue slice is 1 out of these 5 on this half over here, right? Well, then they talked about Carlos. Carlos got half. What this student did is they took a half, this half over here, and they multiplied it by a fifth. And if you were to actually do that, a half, that is 0.5. And then a fifth, if you take 1 divided by 5, you actually get 0.2. If we take 0.5 times 0.2, this is a crazy way of doing it. Boom. What is that decimal, y'all? I took half, or I took half of a fifth, or we can take a fifth of half. Whichever way you look at it, that decimal is 0.1. That is 1/10. Y'all, 1 divide 10 is 0.1. But I can guarantee you, probably most of y'all looked at that and been like, huh? Because that's not a very common way of doing it, but yes, it does work. So I at least wanted to point that out to the student who made that comment over on Zoom. But the visual way, I hope you do see that. We let Carlos get half. We took the other half and broke it into 5 slices for 5 friends. And we want that little, any one of these little slices is 1 out of 10 of those slices that make up the whole 1/10. So M.1.5, I wonder if I'm going to get lucky. Well, I'll tell you what, let me scroll to M.1.5 And right there, so this 20-minute video, and I think it's this one right here. Now, I'm gonna play this video, but you're not gonna be able to see it, I don't think. Um, yeah, because like
Dinner, but she's treating
you can
herself.
hear me
Her
talking.
New Balance is six.
But the reason why you can't see it because we do put blocks on our videos. So if you're trying to screen, like I'm screen sharing, so it blocks the video from showing. Like I can see it on my end, but y'all can't see it on your end, can you? It's kind of crazy. It's like a security feature. But if I were to jump to that,
Equally.
oh,
Into four equally.
look at that.
The
Let me
remaining
pause that. I clicked on that fraction word problem. And I want y'all to at least see I'm not doing the same problem. Carlos doesn't show up in this video, but we're talking about splitting that pizza up. So there is an example in our own demand. But plus we have several other examples, money problems, distance problems, money and fraction problems in our own demand. And I guarantee you, if you go over to the Q Bank, create a test, all questions, M.1.5. I know I'm not gonna get lucky and get a pizza problem on my first one. No, but y'all, look at all these different. Oh, look at this one. Seth and six friends decide to split a pie. There's another problem in our Q Bank, the free trial of our Q Bank. I bet if oh my goodness, here comes Patrick and some friends. And I do have some problems in here where they're kind of there's a little twist added to it to really make you think outside the box. But y'all can just see, I mean, I can sit here and go through all sorts of problems. It's not just pizza problems, it's all sort of multi-step problems. So that was number 5. Here comes number 6. We're going to jump into some percentages, percent word problems. This one actually is the first problem tonight where I think it will take you a little bit longer. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes on this one. Go ahead and try it out. Yeah, it ain't no problem. So I'm a guest at somebody's house, y'all, and they're asking me, can they come in here and make food in their own kitchen as long as they don't make noise? All right, so this problem right here, let's see what we got. I'm seeing some C's, I'm seeing some D's, some more C's. All right. Now, with these percentage problems, especially when it involves, and look, there it is, dag on it on Instagram. Somebody even mentioned you can work through these types of problems. Not that it's easy by any means, but since it's dealing with money, we can just relate to it a little bit nicer. So let's go through this. There's my man Carlos again. I told you. If Carlos would have seen these videos, he would be like, Brandon, well, I have not won $30,000 either, but Carlos is the man of the hour. He ate some pizza. Now he went and bought a lottery ticket. He won $30,000. He paid 20% in taxes. After that, he bought a motorcycle. Carlos, my neighbor, does not own a motorcycle, but in this case, he does. He went and bought an $18,000 motorcycle. After that, he took his remaining money, invested in stocks, and he earned 12% from his investment. How much money does Carlos have now? So, what most of us are probably going to do is we're going to take that $30,000 and we're going to multiply it by 20%. There is another way you can do this, but this is probably the more common approach, but we have to be careful. So, I mean, look, let's take Carlos out of the picture. Let's suppose you won $30,000. The government is going to get their cut, and they're probably going to get more than 20%, to be quite honest with you. But let's take $30,000, and on the TEAS calculator, you can multiply by 20 and you can press this button. When I multiply by 20%, I get $6,000. You don't have to convert it to a decimal on the TEAS calculator. You have the percent button. Now, the color of the keys look a little bit different on the TEAS, but the button layout is identical, I promise. So $30,000, government's going to get their 20%. So you got to pay, or Carlos has to pay $6,000 in taxes. This is not how much money Carlos has left. He's going to have 24,000 after taxes. Because what we did there is we're going to take that 30 grand he won and we're going to subtract the $6,000 that he paid in taxes. Now, from here, we are going to subtract off the motorcycle, but y'all, let me show you something else cool. Check this out. If I pull up the calculator, let me ask y'all a question. If you, Carlos, whoever, if you have to pay 20% in taxes, what percentage does that leave you keeping? Not what dollar amount. If you pay 20% in taxes, what percent do you end up keeping? You end up keeping 80% because 100% minus 20% is 80%. Well, watch this. If I take the $30,000 and instead of multiplying by 20%, if I multiply by 80%, we jump straight to what we have or what Carlos has. Little shortcut there for you. Because what you're doing there is you're technically subtracting off the 20% first, then you're multiplying. Whereas what I did here, which is what a lot of people will do, is they find the percent first and then they subtract second. But y'all, I'm here to tell you it works both ways, as you saw. All right, let's keep on going. $18,000 for a motorcycle. Let's subtract that off. So after the motorcycle, Carlos has got $6,000. And then he takes that 6 grand. Ironically, he's got the same amount of money he had paid in taxes. That's just pure irony. But $6,000 is what he has after the motorcycle. He's going to take that money, he's going to invest it, and he earned 12%. We can multiply again, just like we did with the taxes. But we got to be careful here. If we take $6,000, that's what he had left after the motorcycle. Let's find 12% of that, and we get 720 bucks. Now, all this represents is what was earned from the investment. Does the question, now look, B, I saw some B's and y'all were so daggone close. You got to be careful and make sure you answer that question. 720 bucks is what Carlos earned from his investment. But the question doesn't say how much did Carlos earn. It says how much does Carlos have now? excuse me. And what we have to do there is we have to take the 6 grand. He invested it, but he didn't lose it because it says he invested and he earned. So he still got the 6 grand plus that 720 bucks. That's how our answer is C. And I see it. Y'all were so close. Now, questions. Yes, you do get a calculator built into the TEAS test. I have heard every once in a while that some schools don't let students use the calculator built into the TEAS. I think that's a bunch of bull butter. I mean, I think everybody should have the same opportunity. If the calculator is built into the test, I think everybody should be able to use it. But most of the time, most schools, most programs do let you use the calculator, as they should, because it's built into the test. And with that said, I did mention this a few minutes ago. Even though my button colors are different, it's the same button layout. The percent button is still going to be right there, top left corner. I know the square root, we're going to see that a little bit later, right here in a few minutes, but that's right there. Yes, you will have one of those too. All right, so that's number 6. Let's move on to number 7. Now, literally, I'm not even going to put a timer up here. I'm just going to pause and I'm going to come back in about 10 seconds. Try it out. And it is very possible that you could get a question that just asks you to round. Whether it be, now I know I got to fill in the blank here, but we want to round this to the nearest hundredths, not hundreds, but hundredths. Whenever you see that TH, whether it be tenth, hundredth, thousandth, the TH on the end, that's always to the right of the decimal. The hundredths place is the 8. It's the second spot to the right of the decimal. And something, oh my gosh, Brandon, why did I not mention this? Y'all, check this out. Let me go back to on demand. And let me go. Boom. Okay, I just need to back up real quick. Okay, let me just close out of the test. All right, I'm gonna end that test. There's something I want to show y'all here. Every single video, by the way, it's got those timestamps, right? Well, something else to mention, and I'm gonna show it to you on this one. If I go to math and I come to it falls underneath M.1 though. Even though rounding, I mean, I'll tell you what, let me come down here to rounding. Rounding and estimation, place value and rounding. Look at that, y'all. M.1.7, place value and rounding. I've already told you I can't show you the video because it will not show when we're screen sharing. But I didn't mention this. Y'all see that 3 with the paperclip? If I tap on that, what you actually get is you get the notes from that lecture. But check this out. I'm gonna go ahead and show this one to y'all. Y'all see that cheat sheet? You get a cheat sheet with every single lesson with the on-demand videos. Let me just go ahead and download that real quick. Oh my gosh. And I knew that's what was going to show. Boom. There's your place values. Every single lesson, every single English reading, math, and science video has a cheat sheet with it. And you better believe these cheat sheets, especially for math. I made these personally. Yes, the geometry, it has formulas. The conversions has conversions. The place value and rounding has place value in it. Things to, and look, there's even some examples down here to help you round on the cheat sheet. So that's another added bonus with the on-demand videos. So rounding this to the nearest hundredth, the 8 will either stay as an 8 or it will go up to a 9. It's going to stay as an 8 because you look one spot to the right. If this number is 4 or less, you leave this alone. If it was 5 or more, you would bump up. And as a matter of fact, I do mention this 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. So this number is 4 or less. So we're not going to raise this 8. We're going to let it stay, let it rest. That's number 7. All right, number 8, proportions and word problems. Give you a minute and a half. Give it a shot. All right, I will admit I'm impressed by this. I do see a bunch of bees. Zoom, Instagram. Let me see. I still can't find the daggone chat on TikTok, but it'll be all right. Um, Here we go. So proportions. Before I dive into this one, there was a couple of questions over on Instagram and Zoom, and I think there's one on Facebook too. Those cheat sheets, where do those come from? They come from the on demand. So as a matter of fact, let me jump to proportions now. Math M.1.8. Notice it says proportion word problems. If I click on that, so look, here's proportions. Boom, 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 boom. A whole bunch of different proportion problems. I'm only doing one tonight. Look at all these different ones here. If I click on that paperclip, I go to cheat sheet. There's the proportions cheat sheet. Let me shut that video up. I know you can hear that, but here is the proportion cheat sheet. Gives you some setup instructions. It gives you an example on how you can set it up. Every single one of our lessons, there's a cheat sheet to go along with it. In this particular example, some of y'all may be thinking, I don't know how many cups there are in a gallon. Well, you don't need to know that, y'all. Because what it's saying is that it says, and it says a recipe. What in the heck? A recipe. Um, a solution. A solution. Who in the heck's gonna be cooking with cleaning solution in water? That does not sound right. A solution calls for 4 cups of cleaning solution, and you got to mix that 4 cups of that cleaning solution with 10 gallons of water. We don't have to convert cups to gallons, y'all. What we're doing is we're taking 4 cups of Mr. Clean, cleaning solution, and we're going to mix it with 10 gallons of water. This is a proportion. A proportion is when you compare two things. It can be comparing boys to girls, red marbles to blue marbles. In this case, we're comparing cleaning solution to gallons of water. So I'm going to write down 4 equals 10. We are comparing cups of cleaning solution to gallons of water. Now watch what I'm going to do. Proportion is where you have two fractions. We're setting them equal. And now let's see. If a janitorial team needs to use 48 cups of cleaning solution, 48 cups. Which one of these was cups with the way I wrote it down? The 4 was the cups, right? The 10 was the gallons. When you do proportions, you want to keep things paired together. Since I put cups on the left and I put gallons on the right, I want to put this 48 on the same side where I had those other cups. And look at the question. How many gallons? That word how. That is very often an indicator that you can use a proportion. Not every time, but very often. But the question says, how many gallons? Didn't the 10 represent gallons up here? Well, we're going to put an X down here because we don't know how many gallons. That's what we're trying to figure out. Now, in this case, with proportions, once you set this up, I'm going to just go ahead and show you how you can type this in super fast. I'm going to multiply 48 times 10. I'm not even going to press equals. 48 times 10, I'm going to divide immediately by 4 to get my answer. This is called cross multiplying and dividing. You cross multiply the two numbers that you have, and you immediately divide by the number that's getting crossed with the variable. The 4 is getting crossed with that variable x. That's the number that we will always divide by. And I totally get it. I do see a student over on Instagram. They mentioned, I saw this and I'm thinking I got to convert cups to gallons. I totally get it. Here is the difference though. So let me address that. I think it is important to talk about that. Why are we not doing a conversion for cups to gallons or gallons to cups? Here's why. A true conversion problem that you're thinking about, and now that maybe I have y'all's attention, like why are we not trying to figure out how many cups there are in a gallon? The reason why this question did not ask how many gallons are in a certain number of cups. Or it didn't ask how many cups are in a certain number of gallons. Y'all, we're not, this is more of us, we're taking 4 cups and we're putting it with 10 gallons. Now, I know that 4 cups is not equal to 10 gallons in real life, but we're taking 4 cups of one thing, cleaning solution. That is a completely different item. That's like boys, 4 cups of boys. I know that sounds weird, but cleaning solution is one thing and the water is another thing. They're two completely different things that we are comparing. Things that actually, daggone it, let me back up. Let me see what we got right here. Let me just, I think, because I do this so often. I did not mention it. I bet you I mentioned it right here at the beginning of this video. Oh, no, that's the wrong lesson. That's why. Oh my gosh. Look, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Look, the word things, proportions, comparing two things, cleaning solution and water, boys and girls, red marbles and blue marbles, whatever, two things. And then in this lesson, I'm not covering one tonight. I'll cover one in probably 2 weeks. My next webinar. One of my favorite things to teach is dimensional analysis. That's when you have more than two things. It can be like red marbles, blue marbles, and green marbles. 3 things is where we can start using other things called like dimensional analysis. But it's all about the things. 2 different things here. That's why we are not just converting from cups to gallons or gallons to cups. Still crazy. I get it. but that is the distinguishing factor there. All right, here comes number 9. My man is back. Road trip time. This one takes a little bit of time. And I'll go ahead and say it's kind of knowing here the fast way to do it is if you can understand when to multiply by something versus when to divide by something. And I will give y'all, let's do 2 minutes on this one. Try it out. All right. So for sake of time, I'm going to show you, I'm going to save dimensional analysis for 2 weeks. And if you have the Q bank, you'll see some dimensional analysis problems in the question bank. If you have the on-demand videos, you'll see some there too. But here is a fast way that you can actually do this problem in 20 seconds or less. But it really revolves around you knowing when to multiply by something versus when to divide by something. And like, what does the number represent? So here, if you've read, well, you've read the problem and what Carlos and his friends are doing after they ate their pizza, Carlos won the lottery and now he wants to take them on a road trip. 1,500 miles. If we take those 1,500 miles and we know that the van gets 25 miles per gallon. If we divide these, let me explain what this number is going to be. If we take 1,500 miles and we break it up into 25-mile increments, this number represents how many gallons of gas they're going to have to use. You're taking 1,500 miles, and for every 25 miles, for each 25-mile part, that's going to use a gallon of gas. So take 1,500 miles in all, divide it up into 25-mile increments. Each one of those increments is a gallon. We have 60 gallons in all. If you can understand that that means gallons, 60 gallons, and we know that each gallon costs $3.89, we multiply those 60 gallons times the price of 1 gallon, and there is our answer. I need to make that a little bit smaller. Let me see here. This is just me being OCD. Um, well, I'll tell you what. I'll just copy it over twice. I'll have to mess with those settings later. But first step I did, total number of miles divided by how many miles per gallon. Then we take those miles per gallon. Oh, that's why I needed to slide it over. Take those 60 gallons, multiply it by the price per gallon, $233.40, not 4 cents. But since we need to round to the nearest dollar, this is closer to $233 than it is $234. Final answer here will be B. And this was mean of me to do this, to put all these answers so close together. I don't think the tease is going to be that mean, but it was just allow us to talk about rounding again. If we round this to the nearest dollar, that 3 will stay the same because 4 or less, let it rest. If this 4 had been a 5 or more, we'd raise the score, but we're going to let it rest here. $233. B is our answer. Here comes number 10. Okay, then I should have, my mistake. I need to label these. If y'all can go back and watch this webinar later. Come on. All right, that was M.1.5, M.1.6, M.1.7. We're going in order, but it's getting ready to have a little shift after this problem. This is M.1.10. This example here, I'm just going to hush for a second. This should take 15 seconds if you understand translating. Go ahead and try it out. All right. Now, let me ask you a question. This is how I kind of go about doing this. M.1.10, it's all about taking a sentence that has words and you got to translate it into like a math problem. But heck, I mean, that's how a lot of word problems are too, though, right? Let me ask y'all this question. What is 4 less than 20? What's that answer, y'all? What is 4 less than 20? Isn't that 16? What's my point? 16. My point here is this. You don't take 4 minus 20. You take 20 minus 4. 4 less than 20. That means you want to take 20 and you want 4 less than that. 20 bucks. If 4 less, if you have 20 bucks, okay, you got 20 bucks. If I have 4 less than you, I've got $16. The point here is that you're reversing it essentially. So 8 less than a third. So first of all, a third of a number. I can at least eliminate some choices right there. A third of a number means we're going to take 1/3 times that X. We're not saying 3 times a number. We are not tripling. So automatically that one, they're gone. And if we want 8 less than that, that's why I was showing y'all this. When we wanted 4 less than 20, we subtracted 4. If we want 8 less than something, we got to subtract the 8. Our answer is D. It is not C though. C is close, but we don't want 3 times a number. We want a third of a number. So that was M.1.10. And if you've got the question bank, if you have, I mean, even if you're using ATI's official resources, their M.1 goes from M.1.1 to M.1.10. There's our first 10 questions. Now, this is going to be M.2.1. I'm going to give you, and I know I did say in the webinar, I remember going over the 1 hour and a half mark, but I'll give you a minute on this one. Go ahead and try it out. All right, now several ways to do these tables, charts, and graphs. That's what M.2.1 is. I'm gonna show you one way. There's several ways you can do it. A lot of circle graphs, pie charts, and a lot of bar graphs. They can be done using something called part over whole equals percent out of 100. Maybe you've heard of this. Maybe you've heard of is over of equals percent over 100. It is technically kind of the same thing, but the is over of, it just looks different. It doesn't look like problems like this, but part over whole. Think part is a portion, whole is the total. Part represents a part of a whole, and then percent over 100. So everyone in Brandon's class passed the course, even Carlos. Well, I know if my neighbor saw this now, he's like, Brandon, what you talking about? Carlos, he's about to retire. So Carlos has been done. But if 30 students got a B in the course, how many students were in the class? 30 students represents just the B students. This is just a part of the class. How many students were in the class? We are trying to find the total, AKA the whole. You see how this is kind of helping us? So part is just a part. That right there is just a part, the B students. So the 30 students is not the total. That's just the portion out of the whole. That's what we're looking for, y'all. And you may be thinking, okay, well, what do we put over here? The percent, you don't want to put 30%, but you want to match it up with the percentage of the B students. So those B students made up 60%. So we're going to put 60 over 100. 30 out of what? 30 out of how many students represent 60%? That's what we're really trying to find here. But here we go. Notice we have a proportion, and I did show y'all how to solve a proportion. We cross multiply, but what number are we going to divide by now? What number do we divide by? The 30, the 60, the 100? We divide by the number that gets crossed with the variable. So therefore, we're going to take the 30 times the 100, immediately divide by 60, and our final answer is going to be 50. Part over whole equals percent over 100. This formula will let you find any of these pieces. Sometimes you may need to find the part. Well, we could solve that with this formula. Sometimes you may have to find the percent. Sometimes you may have to find the whole like we did here. It just depends. That's what's cool about this formula or this proportion is that you can use it in various problems that involve graphs. So our answer here, C. Question over on Instagram. Tutoring, yes. If you want some tutoring, I will let me pop over. I know you can't even do that. Well, actually, you know what? Let's wait until the end because you might win a free tutoring session. Don't forget that. We're going to do a free tutoring session right here in a few more questions, and then I'll refer y'all to where you can go if you want to book a tutoring session, or even go ahead and just get the Cubing, get the videos, get the tutoring session. You save like 15, 20 bucks doing that. So here comes M.2.2. This is a question that should only take about 15 to 20 seconds if you know your distribution shapes. So I'm going to shut up for a second, try it out. All right. So grade distributions. Looks like a lot of the students in the class in this A&P course, final exam grades, most of the class did good. And as we go to the left, this is called a left tail. Think of this as like the tail of a fish or something like that. Whatever side the tail is on, that's the skewed direction. This is called skewed left, AKA negatively skewed. If you pick skewed right, it's just a matter of knowing the difference between them. So here's another way that students think about it. Some students say, well, I look and see what side the high side is on, and I pick the opposite. I mean, technically, so the high side is on the right, but that means it's skewed to the left. Whichever way you want to do that. You better believe. So, what about these other ones? Normal, uniform, skewed right. Well, this is underneath M dot 2.2. Huh. Let's see what we got here. If I go to M dot 2.2 and I click on, let's go check out the cheat sheet. Let's see what the cheat sheet has for M dot 2.2. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Distribution shapes. Skewed left, skewed right. Notice I mentioned the word tail. Tail. If the tail is on the left, it's skewed left. If the tail is on the right, it's skewed right. There's your distribution shapes. But also within this section, you have your mean, median, mode, range. We're not doing examples of those tonight. We'll do some of those in 2 weeks or next time I have a webinar. But just again, re-emphasizing like everything you need outside of these free webinars, you can do our free question bank. Try out the videos. You get the cheat sheets. You get notes. You get a ton of stuff. Here comes M.2.3, positive and negative relationships. Read that question very carefully. Minute and a half. Go ahead and try it out. All right. So if you picked A and D, you actually picked the ones that are negative. We want ones that are not negative relationships. So positive relationships, I will give you this little, and you better believe this is on the cheat sheet. I'm not even gonna go there because I think I've kind of proven that with a lot of these little tidbits of information. Positive relationships equals same direction. Either they both can go up or they both can go down. And then you have your negative relationships. that is equal to opposite directions. I cannot spell tonight. So either they both, okay, positive, they both go up or they both go down. Negative, one goes up, the other one goes down. So since we're trying to find the ones that are not, look at these two examples. Look at B. As study hours go down, test score goes down. That is same direction. That is a positive, which means it is not a negative. See what I'm saying? Now you might say, well, these words decrease. That means no. Mm-mm. It's all about the direction of the variables. Study hours. You decrease your study hours, you decrease your grade. Y'all, what about if you increased your study hours? If you increase your study hours, you increase your grade. They're both still going to head in the same direction. Same direction is positive, opposite direction is negative. So if we look here, as the amount of exercise increases, so as exercise time goes up, well, guess what happens to the number of calories? Number of calories, they go up as well. They are heading in the same direction. That is not a negative, it is a positive. B and C, by the way, it did say select all that apply. So B and C are our answers. If you look at A and D, the variables go in opposite directions. Now, see what I'm saying? Look, as price goes up, the demand, the number of people buying it, typically goes down. Those are going in opposite directions. That is a negative. And as gas prices go up, the number of miles that people drive, I mean, this might not always be true, but I mean, it kind of does have an effect on it. Maybe people carpool or something. But there is a trend there. Gas prices go up, driving, the number of miles that people drive do go down. I remember when gas prices got outrageous. I mean, like it was just like over a couple of days there. It's been several years ago, but like they even saw nationwide a decrease as the gas prices went up. Vacation businesses were seeing less sales because people weren't traveling for vacation. So there is a trend there. So that's number 13. Oh, and this is M dot 2.3. Here comes M dot 2.4. Now for tonight, this is our geometry, and there's a ton of geometry, squares, rectangles, right triangles, and circles. This one here is a right triangle, minute and a half. Try it out. All right. Oops, forgot to unmute. There we go. All right. So geometry, tonight's example, right triangles. Maybe I got some of y'all. I saw somebody say, oh, wait, perimeter. So the legs of a right triangle. Now, honestly, come test time, you don't have time to draw a picture of a right triangle. I'm going to do it here. In a right triangle, the two sides that make the right angle, those are called your legs. And those are all, well, we also call those A and B. We call this other side over here C, and that's called the hypotenuse. Full lesson, I think two or three examples in on demand with the notes and all that stuff. But here, your two legs, they make that right angle. So we know what A and B are. And you might say, well, how do I know which one to make A and which one to make B? It does not matter. I can call A 12 or I could call A 5. A and B, they're both legs. So even if you didn't recognize that, maybe you saw the word right triangle and you're thinking of this thing called the Pythagorean theorem, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And now that I talked about the word legs, the legs are always going to be the A and the B, and it does not matter which is which. You can call one of them A. I said 12. The other one is B. And we need to solve for C. We need to find the hypotenuse. This is, I mentioned earlier tonight, the square root. Now, let's not do the square root yet. Let's square first. 12 squared means 12 times 12, not 12 times 2. Now, you do not have a square. Listen to me. I'm not making a mistake here. There is no square button. This is called a square root. We're going to use the square root in a second, but that's not how we do that. 12 squared means 12 times 12. 5 squared is 5 times 5, which is 25, and that's equal to C squared. Let's combine like terms. Let's add the 144 plus 25. That is 169 is equal to C squared. This, y'all, this side right here, this hypotenuse is not 169 feet long. That don't, if that's 12 feet and that's 5 feet, there's no way that would be 169 feet. We have to do what's called the square root. And that's how we can get rid of this squared. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. The opposite of adding is subtracting. The opposite of squaring is to take the square root of both sides. Now, here's how you do it on the TEAS calculator. Type in the number first. Clear out this stuff. This is how you do it on the TEAS. Some calculators are different. Like your iPhone calculator, I think you got to either rotate your iPhone or you got to press a button. But on the TEAS calculator, you type in the number first and then you press that square root button. And 13 is our hypotenuse. 13 squared, 13 times 13 is 169. The square root of 169 is 13. So 13 is C. We want the what? We want the perimeter. The perimeter, you add up your sides. 5 plus 12 plus 13, we get 30 feet. That was, I did see some 13s for answers, but 13 is just the hypotenuse. If you did that, I fooled you again. We needed perimeter here, so 30 feet. And I had a bonus question. I'm going to go ahead and cover this. That way I can do number 15 so we can get out of here at a decent time. The area of the right triangle, the formula for area is 1/2 times the base times the height. Or some of y'all might just take base times height divided by 2. Regardless, here's the good news. The legs will always be your base and your height in any right triangle. The base and the height will always be the legs because of that right angle. We just plug those numbers in. 1/2 times the base times the height. It doesn't matter what order you multiply these. And this is purely ironic. You will get 30 square feet here. Don't you ever think that these two will always be the same. Purely ironic that this happened. I promise you that is very rare that the perimeter of a shape and the area of the shape are the same. Very rare. It happened here, but don't never ever assume that. So you better believe geometry. We got some examples, cheat sheet. It's got all the formulas. Our last problem of the night, then we can do our giveaway, and then we can get out of here. Um, a newborn. I'm gonna go ahead and just cover it with you since I mean we're getting close to 11. I want to get the winner of the free tutoring session. So a newborn weighed 8 pounds, 4 ounces. What was the newborn's weight in ounces? You do need to know this conversion, I think. You need to know it for nursing school too. That conversion, 16 ounces, is equal to 1 pound. And if you didn't know that, that's one worth knowing. 16 ounces is just 1 pound. Now, we could do proportions, but what I'm going to do here, if 16 ounces is just 1 pound, well, we got an 8 pound newborn. The shortcut is to multiply the 8 pounds by 16. Again, listen to me, y'all. 16 ounces is just one itty bitty pound. 16 ounces is 1 pound. So we got 8 pounds though. And if you take 8 times 16, that is 128 ounces. As a matter of fact, I think that's how much a gallon of milk. Okay, never mind. I'm getting sidetracked. It's getting late. If you pick B, you're so close. You forgot about the 4 ounces. Those extra 4 ounces right there. We can combine these. These are technically like terms now. 128 ounces plus 4 ounces. That's like terms. 132 ounces is the newborn's weight in just ounces. So, now I know that was fast. We did 15 problems. We did 15 problems in about an hour and 45 minutes. Take away, my rambling, my explanations. Technically, y'all only spent about 30 minutes ish doing these problems on your own. So, good news. If you were getting, and it's okay if you didn't, y'all. I mean, that's what these webinars are for. That's what our extra resources are for, the tutoring. But if you got a lot of these right, should be a confidence boost. I would love to hear how y'all do. You can email us. Speaking of email, let's go ahead and get that out there. Jot down this email. This is not how you enter the giveaway, though. The way you enter the giveaway is you have to go do this survey right now. I'm gonna give you just a minute or two. It's a very quick survey. You pick math because you're at a math webinar, and you give me some honest and raw feedback because I take it very serious. Whether it's good or bad, I don't care. I want it. That's how I can improve, make things better. But this is how you get it in. So you will have to include, I think, your name, your email in the survey. But I'm gonna pick a random name, or actually, I'm gonna let the computer pick a random name. So if you don't have your QR code, phone, whatever, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pop. Actually, probably the easiest way for me to do this is to just type the URL. Oh, duh, Brandon, it's right there. I'm gonna copy and paste that in Zoom. I'm gonna copy and paste this. I think that went to Facebook and YouTube. Okay, it did go to YouTube. Let's make sure it goes to Facebook. If it didn't go to Facebook, I'll give you a second to type it in. But hang tight. I'll let everybody do this. I'm gonna put a little quick timer. I think whether you got to type the URL in, take the survey, I'm gonna come back in 2 minutes. I think everybody should be able to access the survey and answer those three or four quick questions for me. We'll be right back and we will go and pick a winner. All right, let's see. Oh, let me switch back over. All right, good. So I'm going to take the entries that we do have. Make sure. Yeah, on Instagram. Okay, I know on Instagram you can't click the links. You can't do that in chat on Instagram either, can you? Let's see. We can try it. Here's the, I don't think you can actually click on it. It'd be great if you could. I wish Instagram would get with it, but there's the link. But I don't think you can even copy and paste it. Take a second. I'll still give you some time because I know Instagram can be a pain with that. And we got quite a few folks over on Instagram, so I want to let y'all take advantage of that as well. And for those of y'all that already done it, thank you. So as the Instagram folks are doing it, here's how this is going to work. I'm going to take all the names once we get the survey, or I mean, I do have the names of the survey, but I'm gonna give the Instagram folks a little bit more time. I'm going to put all of those names in a random name picker and I'm going to let it pick a name. This is how I did the last one. And basically, whoever wins, what you'll need to do is you will need to email this right here. Email that link. And basically, what you need to do is you need to email me or not email me, email this link from the email address that you typed in when you just did that survey. Do we understand that? whatever email address you used when you did the survey. Send an email to prenursing@archerreview.com if you win, and then you'll get some directions probably sometime tomorrow, but I promise you, you'll get a free hour. It'll be with me. I'm gonna remember your name, no doubt about it. All right. So what I'm gonna do, I think hopefully that was long enough. If not, I apologize, but it is 11 o'clock. We'll copy these names. All right, I'm gonna copy and paste these. And all right, random name picker. Tonight, pardon me if I do not pronounce this correctly. How about this? How about I go with the last name? Gabriel. I think that's the only person in here that had Gabriel anywhere in their name. So last name Gabriel, you know who you are if you want to comment. I don't know if whether that was Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Let me see if I can recognize the name on any of those platforms. But y'all, the other thing too, so the person that did win, okay, hold up. Did they respond there? Anyway, email that email address, prenursing@archerreview.com. Last name is Gabriel. That's what I see over on my side. The first name, Enoch. Sorry if I did not pronounce that correctly. Email me or email prenursing@archerreview.com from that email address. And for everybody else, the next webinar that I'm doing, I think, is because I'm getting some questions there. I think it's like in 2 weeks. And basically, it's going to be the same thing we had tonight, but different problems, fresh problems every time we do it. If you have any questions, you can email that same address. And yeah, that's it, y'all. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope to see y'all again soon. Spread the word. I would love to have more and more people in these. I mean, the more we get out there, if we can get more and more people, we'll keep doing more and more and more. I mean, I'm doing 2 a month. I would consider doing more, but I want to see a bunch of people show up. So spread the word. Love to see y'all. You all take care. Have a good night. Bye bye.